All right, this is your week 13 quiz review that you should be watching before you take the quiz. Example 1 is it's very similar to one of the problems on the quiz. It says find the slope of a line parallel to this line. So you're looking for the slope of a parallel line. You have been given this line, and you want to tell me the slope of any line that would be parallel to it. Well, in order to be able to do that, you must know the slope of this line. And the only way you can find the slope of this line is to put this thing in a format that looks like y equals mx plus b. So to do that, I need to get the y by itself. So to get the y by itself, let's start by adding a 4x to both sides. Or, I'm sorry, a negative 4x to both sides, so that these will cancel. So now I would have negative 5y is equal to negative 4x plus 10, because these two canceled. All right, so now I want to switch all of my signs, because I'm trying to make it look like this. My y is positive. Now I need to get rid of that 5 that I have here, so it'll have just a 1y. So to get rid of the 5, I'm going to undo multiplication, I should divide. So I have to do it to everything. Divide everything by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 4 divided by 5 does not come out even, so we'll just leave it 4/5. 10 divided by 5 does come out even, and there I have the equation of this line written in slope-intercept form. And the advantage of this is now I can see the slope. Clearly this line has a slope of 4/5. I'm supposed to give the slope of a line parallel to this. Well, remember, parallel lines have exactly the same slope, so that means my answer to this problem is 4/5. Any line that's parallel to this line will have a slope of 4/5. All right, example 2. All right, in this example, you are supposed to graph the solution to both of these, and this is going to be a shading problem So in order to find the solution set to this system of inequalities, I am going to need to shade. Anytime you see these symbols, the less than and the greater than, you are going to be shading. So keep in mind there is no equal to sign under here. So when there's no equal to sign, that means your lines are going to be dotted, which I think is like the one on the quiz. So this particular line here is going to cross the y-axis at 2. Remember that your y-axis is this one and your x-axis is this one. So I want to cross the y-axis at 2, and then I have a slope of 5 over 1. So that means to rise 5 and run 1, both positive directions, since this is a positive 5. Now, of course, you could have negatives on both of these. 2 negatives make a positive when you're dividing. So I could also start here and go down 5 and left 1. That would also land me on the same line. And remember, I'm supposed to be making a dotted line out of this. So it's going to look something like that. All right, your other line, this one right here has a y-intercept of negative 3. So we're going to cross the y-axis at negative 3. And our slope is 1 over 1, since there's no coefficient in front there. So that means to go up 1 over 1, all the way across your screen. Or, of course, 2 negatives would put down 1, left 1. And there, I don't even need to make, I already have a dotted line. I don't need to dot it any more than it already is. So now I need to do my shading. So with my shading, so just to review a bit, this blue line right here is the graph of this line, crosses the y-axis at 2. Slope is up 5, right 1, or you can go down 5, left 1, and it's a dotted line since I do not have an equal sign underneath here. The black line, the dotted line that I have here, represents this one, crossing at negative 3, and a slope of up 1 over 1 all the way across the graph. Now to do our shading, this top line right here, which I have in blue over here, has a less than symbol. So less than means to go below the line. So that means put your pencil anywhere you want. Imagine that this side of the blue line is region A, and this side of the blue line is region B, ignoring that the black line's even there. So if I put my pencil on that line somewhere, anywhere, less than means to go down, so I go straight down. That lands me in region B. So I want to shade that side of the line. So I'm shading that side of the blue line, ignoring the black line. Okay, now I come back to the black line. It has a greater than symbol. So in that one, I want to go to the black line, and I want to go above the line. So if I put my pencil on this line right here anywhere, and greater than means to go straight up, so that's going to land me on this side of the black line. So I need to shade on this side of the black line. I'll do that in a different color. All right, now where do the green and the purple overlap at? They overlap in this region right here. So all of the points in the region that I'm shading right now is part of the solution set. Now I have dotted lines on both sides, so there are no points on the line that would be solutions, but all of the ones in here are solutions to this system of inequalities. They would make both of these come out true. The points over here in these other regions are either going to make, like in this region, the points that are down here will not make either one of these come out true. The dots that are in the purple region make the bottom one come out true, and the green region make the top one come out true, but this is the only area that will make them both come out true. So make sure you shade that area correctly. All right, next example. This is a problem where you're supposed to use elimination to solve, and very important that you show your work on this problem. Remember that elimination means you're trying to eliminate one of the variables. So either you need to make these the same or you need to make these the same. The smallest number that these will both go into is 10. The smallest number that these will both go into is 6. So I would probably go with a 6 since it's a smaller number. So to get that 6, I'm going to need to take that top equation times 3 and the bottom equation times 2. Alright, so if I do that, multiply the top one by 3, notice that I do have opposite signs already, so I don't want to change my signs. Negative 6x, negative 6y, and 3 times 16 is 48. If you didn't know that, you could just use a calculator. And bottom one, 2 times 5, that's 10x. 2 times 3 is 6y. And 2 times 5 is 20. So now if I add those two equations together, the two x numbers, negative 6 and 10, will give you 4x. These two cancel out. I have an equal sign, and negative 48 plus 20 would be negative 28. So now if I divide both sides by a 4, I get x equals negative 7. And that's one of my answers. I still need to figure out what y is. So I'm going to take this value that I figured out for x, I'm going to take it and plug it either back into this one or this one. It doesn't matter, whichever one you would prefer. I guess I'll use the top one since the number's a little bit smaller. Negative 2 times negative 7 minus 2y equals negative 16. So negative 2 times negative 7 would be a positive 14. And now I could subtract 14 from both sides in an attempt to get the y by itself. So that would be those going away. I get a negative 2y. Negative 16 and negative 14 are both losses, so they give me a negative 30. I would want to change my signs because I don't want y to be negative. And then I would divide by 2. Divide both sides by 2, and I get y equals 15, which is my second answer. So, in other words, if I were to graph these two lines, the point of intersection would be at negative 7, comma 15. Your next example is an exponents problem. And so for this exponent problem, you're going to want to, first of all, take care of this thing right here, the power rule. You've got a power raised up to another power, which means you can multiply those together. So if I do that, all right, so as I said, you'd want to multiply these together, so that would be a negative 8. So I'm going to have to transform that to 3 times 3 to the negative 8 over 3 to the second. And remember, anytime you have a negative exponent, you want to shove that down. So when I shove it down, I'm going to have something that looks like this. 3 over 3 squared times 3 to the 8th. And so now I have 1 3 on the top. I have a total of 10 3's on the bottom. So I have 3 over 3 to the 10th. And if I were to write those 3's all out, one of them would cancel. So if I canceled one set of 3's, in other words, 3 divided by 3 comes out to be 1. So imagine 3 over 3 times 3 times 3, 10 times. And then these cancel. So now I'm left with 9 3's on the bottom. So my answer is 1 over 3 to the 9th power. All right, example 5 is a calculator problem, so you want to make sure you get this typed in the calculator correctly. So typing this into your calculator, you simply need to type in 9.5. Then you want to hit the second button that's in the upper left-hand corner, and then you want to hit the comma key, which is right above the 7. And when you do that, this little E should pop up on your screen. Again, that's second, and then the comma key. The E shows up, which stands for exponent, and you simply have to type in the exponent. You don't have to type in the 10 or the times sign at all. So now you'll hit times because you're multiplying two scientific numbers together, and you'll do it again. You'll type in 6.54. You'll hit the second key. You'll hit the comma key. The little E will pop up, and then you'll type in -5. When you hit enter, so when I typed this in my calculator, my screen gave me this, 6.213, and then it gave me a little E, -5. And of course we know that means 6.213 times 10 to the -5th power. And if you had to run it to two places, it would be 6.21 times 10 to the -5. And there you go. All right, example 6, on this particular problem, you're supposed to find the distance between these 2 points. So these 2 points are somewhere on a graph, and you're supposed to tell me how far apart they are. And so you have 2 ways to do this. You can either use the distance formula. The distance formula is distance equals the square root of the change in x squared plus the change in y squared. That is the distance formula. And the other way you can do it is to draw a right triangle and then use the Pythagorean theorem. And I do have both of these items, a triangle like this and the distance formula on your test. So I don't care which way you do it. Remember, Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And the a and the b are this, and they would be the same as the change in x and the same as the change in y. So let's see, how far apart are my x's? How far is it from -6 to -3? Well, they are 3 units apart. So if you're using the distance formula, that means for change in x, you would put a 3. Or if you're using the Pythagorean theorem, you could put a 3 right there. How about this? How far apart are -3 and -10? -3 and -10 are 7 units apart. That's the change in y. So that's a 7 squared, which you could put a 7 right here. And so now if you're doing this method, you would go to use the Pythagorean theorem. That'd be 3 squared plus 7 squared equals c squared. And remember, you're trying to figure out what c is. Well, if c squared is equal to this, then c would equal the square root of this. So c is equal to the square root of 3 squared plus 7 squared. Well, notice that's the exact same thing I got over here. So I just need to work this out. Let's see, that's 9 and 49. 9 plus 49 would be what, 57? Or 58, I guess it would be. 58. So the only thing that will go into 58 is a 2 and a 29. And 2 and 29 do not have nice square roots. They don't break into anything. So this will not break down. So that is just your answer right there. All right, in your next example, you're going to want to graph a parabola. All right, so in this example, you're going to need to graph this parabola and tell me its vertex, axis of symmetry, and then also if we have any intercepts, we'll graph those as well. So keep in mind what the apparent function for the parabola looks like. So this isn't the parabola you're supposed to draw. This is the one you're supposed to shift. So let's see, over 2, 3, 4. Alright, so if I were to, and I could even go one more, but I'm going to shift these all of these points are going to get shifted to the right 3 and down 1. Remember the number on the left, the number on the far right, the one at the end, tells you how this picture will shift up and down. This number here tells you how it will shift left and right, and it's always the opposite what you would think. You would think a negative would make it go left, but it actually makes it go right. So if I take these 5 points and shift them over, so start with the vertex. That vertex is going to go to the right 3 and down 1. So right 3, down 1 is going to put the new vertex right here. And that's really the only point you need to worry about shifting. You can get the rest of them from that vertex. So I took the vertex from the origin and shifted it right 3 and down 1. So remember from here, to get your points, you just have to go up 1, over 1, and up 4 and over 2 in each direction. So from the vertex, over 1, up 1, and then over 2, up 4 in both directions. And if I wanted to go one more, I could get the y-intercept. Over 3 and up 9 would put me where? Up here at 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right there would be my other point if I wanted to make this parabola. I only made those extra points so that it would show me the y-intercept. I don't think you'll have to worry about that on the quiz. Anyway, so there's my parabola. Here's my vertex, which I obtained from taking this point and going over 3 and down 1. Then I went over 1, up 1 in both directions, over 2 in both directions, and up 4, over 3 in both directions, and up 9. The reason that happens is because you're squaring everything. If you square a 2, you get a 4. If you square a 3, you get a 9. And that's what makes the parabola shape. So my vertex is this special point right here. That vertex is at the point 3, -1, and it is a minimum value. That's the lowest point on the graph. It would be a minimum, not a maximum. The axis of symmetry is the vertical line that cuts the vertex. It's a fold line that allows you to fold it over itself. And that vertical line crosses the x-axis at 3. So x equals 3. Notice this number always matches this number. Alright, and let's see, it crosses the x-axis. My x-intercepts are at 2, 0 and 4, 0. Those are the 2 points where it crosses the axis at right here, 2, 0, 4, 0. And my y-intercept is up here at 0, 8. And there you go, there is your parabola. Alright, our last example says find the perimeter and area of the rectangle with length 2x plus 4 and width 4x minus 8. I have that picture drawn for you here. I have a rectangle with one side being 2x plus 4 and the other side being 4x minus 8. Well, we're supposed to find perimeter, it says, and area. Remember, perimeter is just all the sides added up. And I have 2 of the 2x plus 4s and 2 of the 4x minus 8. So you could say I've got 2 sets of 2x plus 4 plus 2 sets of 4x minus 8. So I work that out and I get 4x plus 8 plus 8x minus 16. Put them together and I get 12x's. 8 and -16 give me -8. So 12x minus 8. So that would be my answer for the perimeter. Alright, I still need to find area. So to find area, you're going to want to use the inside of this box. So for the this little box right here is a length and a width of 2x by 4x. And remember, x times x is x squared, so that's an 8x squared. This little box right here has a length of 4x and a width of 4, so that's 16x. This box is going to be -8 times 2x. Here's its length and its width. So 2x times -8 is -16x. And then to find this box, I got to take -8 times 4, which is -32. Alright, so now I want to add all of these together, so that would be 8x squared plus 16x minus 16x minus 32. Now, this doesn't always happen, but this time it just happened to happen that these two cancel each other out. So those cancel out. So I'm just going to get rid of those altogether and have an 8x squared minus 32. And that may not happen on your quiz. You may actually have two numbers here you can put together. But for this problem, the area would be 8x squared minus 32. And your perimeter would be 12x minus 8. All right, so that's all for your review. Hope this helps a lot for the quiz.